Hi loves, how's it going? It's Anne. Welcome back to my Seeking Minimalism mini little series. This is part 3. So far I did part 1, which was the emotional purge, if you missed that. And then part 2 was the exterior process. So today I am going to talk about all my regrets, mistake purchases that I've made. And I know the right thing probably to say is that there is no mistakes, there is no regrets, because those things brought us to where we are today or made us who we are today. But really, when I think about some of these purchases I made, I just cringe and I just want to kick myself for it. I am a little bit hard on myself, but it's just a part of being human. And although it is cringy and although I do regret it a lot, it is part of the messy process in seeking minimalism or in seeking anything, especially in finding who you are, your genuine, authentic self. It's almost like peeling off layers of ourselves to find out who we are. And I feel like part of this messy process is to recognize our mistakes, so that way we can have a clearer understanding of what it is we want, what it is we're seeking for, what makes us happy. So when we come closer to what it is that we don't want, we come closer to what it is that we want. And so I think these mistake purchases or mistakes that you've done in your past, as long as you can recognize them and come to terms with them, so that way you can move forward and learn from them, that is the beauty of it all. But if we don't recognize these mistakes and we're always trying to avoid them by distracting ourselves constantly, then we're always going to come back into that cycle of repeating itself. So this video is just to kind of like share with you my messy process and a little bit, to make light of the situation. But these are regrets that I've made. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with something that I really thought that I needed, and that was I thought I needed like a fancy production for making my videos. When I first started YouTube, I had a point and shoot camera. After I started building a following, I started to kind of up my game, and after that I just been like so consumed with just getting the right equipment, the most professional, to get the best quality video. So back then, when I was trying to up my game and make my videos look professional, I started to lose the quality of content or message, or the overall, like, what is exactly the video about, because I was so consumed about making a professional looking video. The influences around me at the time as well didn't really help, but I really thought that I needed to have the best equipment, and so I would go out and purchase a drone that I barely use or really did not need, and I was trying to find excuses to use the drone when in fact it was kind of a pain to use, because most places do not let you use it, and if you use it you can get caught, you can get fined. Not only that, but locals really hate that. They get annoyed of that. I didn't need a drone to be fancy. I also got this thing right here that I'm about to show you. It is a DJ Ronin, and it's almost like a stabilizer for the camera. So this thing right here, my camera guy actually recommended for me to get that, and it cost me around $800, $900, and we only use it about like 5 times. And in order for me to use that, I need to hire him to use that, because I can't film myself with that, or if I try to film with myself, it is quite tricky to use. Although it gave me beautiful footage and creative like angles, movements in my videos, I didn't really need all that. So something that I've learned from this overall experience of just purchasing fancy equipment and making these, videos, what I want to focus on now is just minimizing my workflow, setting up the lighting, the perfect lighting, setting up the audio. Takes a lot of time, and by the time I'm ready to film, my mind was just exhausted. So instead of just going through all this process, I'm learning to eliminate them and just work with my camera. I might have a little lighting to help me out on dreary days like today. It's raining outside and there's not much lighting, but I might just, I just want to stick to the basics. So that's something I'm striving toward, is to minimize my workflow when it comes to producing my videos, so that way I can concentrate more on my message and my overall purpose of making my videos. Number 2, this is something that I've been wanting to share with you. I stopped buying hair dyeing products, and I used to buy these kits to dye my roots because ever since I was 12 years old, I started getting gray hair, and I didn't understand why, but I would get like 1 or 2, and then each year I would get a little bit more. But last year, 2020, I got a lot more, and I was quite surprised by the amount of gray hair I was getting. My roots were coming out, and you could kind of see them right now, but I'm coming to terms with my gray hair and I'm letting it grow out actually. Last year when I started seeing more of the gray roots, I didn't know how to feel about it. Like I was really down, and I was in a funk. Like I felt defeated. I felt like I was aging. I was growing old, and I'm just 38 right now. I don't think 38 years old is old, but I feel like all the messages, everything that people talk about out in society, deemed like 38 to be old. It's so ridiculous how our society deemed, aging as such a terrible, negative thing and reflects so much negativity on it. But actually, when I put more time to think about it, it's actually a beautiful process of life. And when I think about how I was back in my 20s, I love myself more today than when I was in my 20s. So I am happier with how I am now, and my mindset is at a much more clear and confident state than it used to be. I don't know why people make youth to be such a brilliant, beautiful thing. I can see that, it gives you more energy to do things, but overall, there's so many positivity that comes with aging, and our society deemed it to be so terrible. Like in your 30s, it's considered old. It's ridiculous. I am coming to terms with it, and so I decided to just let my gray roots grow out, and I feel better not dyeing my hair every time. Less chemical on my scalp, on my head, and every time I dye my hair, it's just I don't feel right about it, but I felt like I needed to do it in order to feel my age. I mean, the more I recognized that how I was feeling was not influenced by really who I am. It's influenced by what other people, society, the media, social media, everything was feeding me. And so I wanted to take control of my own thoughts and how I really feel about aging. And so instead of having that sheep mentality of just following popular beliefs or whatever people are doing or saying, I want to have a mind of my own. And so I took a step back, and I wanted to view the age in my own way, my own perspective. And I thought about all the things that I love about myself today versus who I was before. And I really see it as a beautiful process. There's a way to age gracefully, and I see many people age gracefully. And even if we get wrinkles or if we get more gray hair, then I don't think it's something to hide or be afraid of. I'm going to try and embrace this, and I say try because there are times when I go back into that old way of thinking. Like, I don't think you will ever get rid of that mindset because it's just so engraved in there. But I am working on it, and I'm realizing it, and I'm recognizing it to the point where I can have an opinion and thoughts of my own. All right, so I'm going to share with you some cringy purchases. I'm going to start with this one right here. I think that you can guess what this is. This bag right here was, the bag amongst fashion influencer, and it is the Celine bag. I forgot what it's called exactly, but I remember looking for the size, which was the petite, all over different Barneys and different, department stores. And once I got this bag, which was around $3,000. I know. Like I could have put that money towards something more useful and practical. But back then, my mindset was very different. I just wanted to fit in and feel like I was part of the fashion blogger community, because all the fashion bloggers have this bag. It was the bag to have, and it was such a, you know, like a popular bag. And once I got it, I was afraid to use it because it scratches so easily. It was a decent size, but later on I realized that I don't need all this, you know, space to carry around, because I ended up just throwing more things in and just lugging around like a little mini luggage. That's what it pretty much is. So I think overall I use this bag like about 5 times. I have other designer bags that I use more often than this bag, and I was able to write them off as, you know, like props for my business. But this bag was the most useless bag, the most useless purchase that I've made. And, you know, I do regret some other designer bags, but this one was the least used bag, and it's just sitting in my closet. If I was to sell this, I would probably not get what I paid for, but I'm hoping that I can probably sell it in the future and just get something out of it and put that money towards something more useful. But something that I learned from that purchase is that, you know, this place in my life, and although back then I think differently, this place in my life, I don't need to fit in, you know, and I'm okay with spending time alone. I don't need to attract the wrong kind of people. You know, when I look at myself and reflect, back then I realized that I was attracting the wrong kind of people, people that were encouraging me or influencing me in the wrong direction, farther from what really, you know, fulfills me. And that's something that I was able to recognize and learn from that mistake purchase. All right, get ready to cringe again. So this one right here, on my trip to Paris, I was told that designer, you know, handbags and items were a lot cheaper there, and I could get a better deal there. So my mentality back then was, you know, take advantage of it. And I was out there for work for my Eyelure shoot, and I had I made a few like extra days to spend in Paris with my family, and I thought I wanted to just take a look around Louis Vuitton, see what it is that, you know, sparks my interest, because the brand altogether was never like one of my favorite brands. But then when I saw this luggage, just like, wow, it's so beautiful. All right, so this is the bag right here. I got to use this a few times in my videos, but overall, I think I've used this about like once. I know, I use it like once or twice, something like that. And I guess I wanted to give off this idea that I was a successful businesswoman. And although I felt very much that way, and I do feel like I was at a good point in my career, I ended up attracting the wrong kind of attention, which I will share in another video, because that, you know, led to a lot of other stuff. But I attracted the wrong kind of attention, you know, people who didn't mean well, or they can benefit something else from me. And overall, like, I just wanted to feel like that woman that I saw as a child, you know, that exude that confidence. But I didn't need that. You know, I could still exude that confidence without the flashy object. And that is what I learned from that mistake. Okay, so this next purchase is a Tesla 2020 Model 3. I bought it at the beginning of 2020, and it was going to be my forever long-term car. During 2020, as you all know, we were quarantined for most part, and something I learned about myself during the quarantine was that I really had this desire and this love to be outdoors, to hike, and to just, you know, get more connected with nature. And something that I wasn't able to do much was to go to these kind of places that were far out in like the woodsy area that were outside the city, because my Tesla, you know, the charging stations were just limited to more popular areas. And it took a lot of time to look for charging stations. If there's no supercharging stations, there are other charging stations that take about 1 or 2 hours to charge the battery of the car. And so my driving range couldn't go far to some of these places that I wanted to. You know, like I could have booked some Airbnb, but then that just like, you know, takes up more time, consume more time and money. And it was quite a process. You know, if I wanted to go somewhere far, I had to like really plan where I would charge my car, and I would have to make a lot of stops in order to charge my car. So that really limited me. And another big factor that played into me realizing that my Tesla was not a good idea or purchase for me was that we were evacuated twice last year because of the fires here in California. And I was just thinking about all these uncertainties and how the Tesla would really help me out. So if there was a huge fire and I had to evacuate, like how far will this Tesla take me? If I had to go to a charging station, like how backed up will the wait be? And all that kind of stuff came to my mind, and I was just losing sleep. I was getting more anxiety, how I would get my son and myself out of California if anything crazy happened. And maybe, I don't know, you might think that I'm a bit paranoid, but I like to think about like certain consequences, things that can possibly happen, so that way I can be prepared. If I wanted to continue my life in the city and just commute between LA and Orange County, I think that's a perfect car for somebody who just likes to stay around like the city area, the more suburbs. And my lifestyle has changed, and what I learned from this overall purchase is that I should focus more on my lifestyle. It helped me look into what it is I want for myself as far as how I want to live and what will serve me. And so I was able to sell my Tesla at a pretty good price. I got a RAV4 hybrid instead, and I just love it. I mean, I don't have to, you know, fill up the tank often, and I get a lot of mileage for it, and I could drive almost anywhere. It goes a little bit off-roading. I love the freedom and knowing that I can take this out and I have a little bit more space that I can, you know, go camping with. And before, when I got the Tesla, I was like, I want a car that will match my outfits too, you know. But now I barely, you know, need to dress up, or I barely want to dress up. I wouldn't say that I regret having my Tesla. The Tesla was a great car to have. I loved it. I was attached to it, and it was a really big decision I had to make because I was attached to the idea of what the Tesla represent to me. I want to be a free spirit. I want to open my mind up to other things than just like sticking within the same bubble or means. You know, it was a great car, and I didn't regret that because it really taught me how to focus around the lifestyle that I wanted to create for myself. This is something that I've been doing, and I wanted to share this. I love candles. I love like burning candles for that nice warm ambiance, especially in the fall and winter time. I love having that fire element to look at and just stare. And I used to buy a lot of candles. I would try to repurpose the containers as much as I can. Like I made a lot of DIYs using repurposed candle jars, but most of them I can't, you know, there's just so much that I can use. So most of them ended up going into the trash or recycling. And then I learned that most of our recycling don't really get recycled. Only a small percentage gets recycled. So to be more sustainable, what I know today is that not buying is the best way to help reduce waste. And so I'm trying not to buy so many candles, and I'm trying to make my candles so that way I can still enjoy having candles around. Also, something interesting that I learned is that back then I wanted to have like my own little candle line, and so I did a lot of researching, calling around, and I talked to a couple manufacturers, and they told me that soy candle is actually really bad for the environment. It takes a lot of water and energy to make and create, but it is marketed to be like sustainable and eco-friendly. So what I did was I bought a big block, like 5 pounds of coconut wax, and I bought some wick sticks, and I just reused my old candle containers. I melted the wax and I put the wicks in here, and now I have like candles to use. So I'm not buying any more new candles. I'm just buying the coconut wax, and I'm making my own candles now. I just wanted to share this with you. Like, if you love candles, just think about like the consumption and the waste that you can potentially create, and just know that this is so easy to make, and you can make your own, and you can just reuse like some of the candle jars that you love. You might not have like the scent that you love, but overall it's just, I love this so much. And I also have some LED candles that I hope will last me for a while. I want to end this video by talking about big furniture. I got rid of a lot of my big heavy furniture, and back then my mindset was that I needed to have good quality, well-made furniture, so that way I don't have to go out and buy anything disposable, or don't have to keep things around for like a year and then get rid of them to buy new things. I thought that if I buy something that is like really good quality, I can just stick to it for the long term. But something I realized is that anything that we purchase becomes a liability, and if they consist of spending more money to upkeep it or to keep it, that is like an ongoing liability to me. That's how I kind of process and think of it. So having these big furniture around and the lifestyle that I'm living now is an ongoing liability, because I have to pay for movers, I have to pay for like the space to move the furniture, and it just costs me so much money every time. So I sold all my furniture. I was very much attached to them. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's not an easy process. Like, when you hear people talk about how they get rid of things so easily, I want you to know that the mindset behind all this, it was just kind of like a back and forth for me, at least anyways, because I still have some sort of attachment to these items. Once I was able to sell one of my furniture, I realized like how good I felt. So like, I felt like I got a lot of weight off my shoulders. Like, I don't have to worry about this piece of furniture in my move. They're so heavy and they're so bulky. To be able to sell them, make a little bit money, have somebody pick it up, it was just like the best feeling ever. So then I was able to get rid of all of my other bulky stuff. And my new mentality today is that, like, quality still is very important to me. But I want to be able to only introduce things in my home, only bring things home if I can carry them in and if I can carry them out by myself. So that is my new mindset. If I had like a home, like a forever home, I don't see it as a problem of having these big heavy furniture, but the lifestyle that I have now, I don't have like a home. Maybe in the future, I'm not sure. A mortgage just makes me feel like I'm chained down to, loans and interest and all that kind of stuff. So where my mindset is today is just that. So these are some of my reflections that I wanted to share with you on, things that I regret and how I was able to recognize them and just process them, so that way I can move forward in my life and just make my life a little bit more easy, simple. That way I can live mindfully and also enjoy being in the moment. So thank you all so much for spending today with me. I really enjoy sharing with you my Seeking Minimalism journey. I'm so glad to hear that some of you are also a part of this. I love to hear some of your regrets and if you learned anything from them, or any embarrassing regrets or whatever. They're always so fun to listen to. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you next time. Ciao.